How's it going? I'm back. Welcome to the first video in a series I will be calling Hall of Fame. When I made this channel, I had 3 videos in mind. 2024 games tier list, top 10 most anticipated games of 2025, and top 5 games of all time. Now, after making 2 list videos already, I didn't like the idea of doing a third, not to mention the fact that I don't like the idea of putting all my favorite games on either a list or scoring them. I just don't think that does it justice. And I have a lot of favorite games that are basically just tied for number 1. It's hard to put one above the other. So I put some thought into it and I came up with this idea, a Hall of Fame. No having to put one above the other, no having to put numbered scores on them. Just an outlet to show my love and appreciation for these games. All right, with the introduction to the series out of the way, it's time for the actual video. The first inductee into Ayoub's Gaming Hall of Fame is Elden Ring. Now, quickly, I want to go over the lead up to Elden Ring because I remember the announcement at E3 and I didn't know who FromSoft was by name. I knew of the Souls games. I hadn't played them, but Elden Ring has Ring in the title and so does Lord of the Rings. And I love Lord of the Rings. So I was already excited. But when I found out FromSoft was the Dark Souls developer, I decided it was finally time to man up and play those games. Now, I had been scared to play them because I remember some story. It was probably fake. But it was a friend betting his friend that he couldn't beat Dark Souls 3 in a year. And when he didn't beat Dark Souls 3 in a year, he sued him. I was like, dang, how can you not beat a game in a whole year? It must be so hard. I'm not even going to bother. But in 2020, my dad got a PS5 and he got Demon Souls. And he wanted to play it with me, which meant he wanted to watch me play it. And so I did. I played Demon Souls and I loved it. And I decided I have to play the rest of their games. So pretty much in order, I played the rest of them pre-Elden Ring release. And by the time I was done, I could not wait for Elden Ring. And after playing all those games, I knew Elden Ring was going to be a banger. So I didn't want to spoil anything. I ended up avoiding all trailers besides the reveal and the first gameplay trailer. This was the best decision I could have ever made. Obviously, it's hard to do that with certain games. You know, even CD Projekt Red had their Cyberpunk incident, but it worked out for me with this one. I preloaded the game. I was hype. I was sitting there with my friend. We were refreshing when it was out because it wouldn't let us play. But once I got in, it was hard for me to get out. Just to get this out of the way, the footage you'll be seeing in the background is footage I recorded for this video. But what I'll be talking about is my first experience with the game on release. I started off as Samurai, which a lot of people did. Died to Grafted Scion, which a lot of people did. Then I woke up. I was pretty eager to get out into the world, so I missed Soldier of Godric, and I took the elevator up. Seeing Limgrave for the first time really was something special. It's a feeling I only got one other time with Breath of the Wild. It's funny looking back now, because when I first saw Tree Sentinel, I thought he was so awesome. But now that I've seen a lot of them throughout the games, he's not as cool to me, but still I remember that first feeling, and it was great. Naturally, he beat my ass, and I ran. And it wasn't long before I found myself in Margit's arena. Now, I'm not really one to run away after I find a boss. Usually I'm sitting there and struggling. And I guess I kind of did with this one. I sat there for hours trying to beat him, knowing I was underleveled. But eventually I was like, you know, I've been waiting for this game for so long. I'm not going to spend all my time dying to this guy. I'm going to go out and explore. So I did. Which I guess makes this a good time to talk about the exploration in this game, which I believe is the best exploration in any game ever. Now, I feel this way because I'm never one to really explore in games. I always seem to find it to be a waste of time. You know, I'm either not rewarded enough or the exploration just isn't fun, but I never got that feeling in this game. I think a big chunk of the reason why is because you kind of have to on your first playthrough. You need those levels, so when you have to go out and explore, it doesn't feel like a waste of time. Not to mention how much content there is in the game. I mean, it feels like you're finding something every 10 seconds and it makes it feel really worthwhile. If I start exploring in a game and I don't find something for a while, or what I find isn't all that interesting, it heavily discourages me from continuing to explore. Again, that never happened to me in Elden Ring. When you find one of the many points of interest in the world, so often is there loot that you can either use at that moment, can build towards using, or use in another run. And even if you aren't aren't very interested in the loot you find, you still get runes from it, which is super important. Also, the fact that the map doesn't put these points of interest on until you find them makes it so much more rewarding to find something, because you found it on your own. You didn't find it off some marking on a map. Although you can study the map, which is super cool. Actually finding it through looking at the map and seeing some point where you're like, it looks like something would be there. That's much more rewarding than the marker just telling you, yeah, there is something there. I hate hand-holding in games, so this system was perfect for me. A specific example would be Siofra River. I remember my first run when I found that. Knowing I could miss such a massive area like that really encouraged me to keep exploring. Anyways, after exploring a bit, leveling up, I went back and I killed Margit. No! Ah! 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 Oh my god, I accidentally jumped! Yes! Alright, let me explain what's going on in this footage here. For this video, I wanted to do a special playthrough for the background gameplay. So I beat the game on a steering wheel. Now, I found out after my first session, after killing Fire Giant, that all the footage looked like this. So I fixed it after that, and then found out after I beat the game that the camera wasn't recording. Now I have proof that I beat it on a steering wheel if needed, but considering I'm not using it for clickbait or anything, I don't think it really matters. So the footage you'll be seeing of the samurai is wheel footage. The other character is just a regular playthrough that I recorded for this footage. All right, if you're interested, here are the controls for the wheel. Here's what it looks like to play on the wheel. A dragon was not the right pick, dude. Pussy. Oh my god. Oh. Pitch. Bro, he hasn't hit me once. I'm on a steering wheel, pal. This is embarrassing. Oh shit. Okay. Well. Dude, no stagger? Bitch, you think I need that right now? Okay. All right. You see, I have some experience on the wheel, huh? You're still not. Now you are. We good? Okay. I proceeded to go directly into Stormvale Castle. I tried to take that alternate route, could not find my way in, so I just went through the main gate. You find Godric pretty quickly going on that path. But for some reason, I thought it was a good idea to fight him with a whip, so I struggled with Godric until I switched back to the Uchigatana. Then I had my way with him. Yes! Let's go! Yes, sir! I remember stepping into Liurnia and just being amazed with how much more there was. And as you know, there's a lot more than that, so I was in for a ride. I couldn't find my way into the Mage Academy, so I ended up stumbling upon the Magma Worm entrance to Altus Plateau. I do remember a specific memory when I killed Magma Worm and got that Magma Worm scale sword. I just thought it was so cool that this tucked away boss dropped such a cool weapon, and I could have easily missed it. And then I went into Altus. It was at this point where I remember specifically riding around and thinking, this game cannot be real. Thank God it is, though. I explored Altus for a while, ended up stumbling upon Mr. Draconic Tree Sentinel himself. He whooped my ass, and I realized I wasn't supposed to be there. Went back to Liurnia, got into the Mage Academy, put down Old Yeller, and beat Renala. Come here for this rod. Bang bang! Yes, sir! Let's go! Thank you guys for seeing that with me. I'm not the only one seeing this, right? On a steering wheel. I am a big open world guy. I hate the feeling of being restricted, and a lot of linear games feel like that to me. That's not to say linear games are bad by any means. I mean, on my favorites list, I have more linear games than open world. That being said, when an open world is done right, it's unmatched for me, especially when they throw you in and just leave it all up to you. Letting me do whatever I want to do is one of the best things a game can do for me, especially when the exploration is as good as it is in this game. It just makes it a perfect match. It's also one of the most beautiful worlds I've ever explored. The variety in environments is crazy. I love that it's actually colorful rather than all dark and brooding like Dark Souls or Bloodborne. As I've said before, my wardrobe is almost completely black, so I need a little more color in my life. Elden Ring does that for me. I also love colored people. I don't know why I said that. Okay. I also prefer the fantasy type style more than the dark or gothic kind of things they've been doing. So I appreciate what they did with this game. I remember my first time stepping into each and every one of the areas in this game. I can't say the same for any of their other ones. After Renala, I think I went to kill Radahn. I can't remember much leading up to Radahn. I just remember that when I killed him, it was only because his second phase was taking a little too long to trigger and I got lucky. He was a menace back then. I know people say, oh, pre-nerf Radahn wasn't all that much different. They just fixed some hitboxes. I don't care what you say. It was different back then. It was probably just because I was worse at the game. But listen, I'm gonna say it because then I get to say I killed pre-nerf Radahn and flex on all these newbies. All right. But yeah, I went back to Draconic Tree Sentinel after that because he was the only boss I knew of. And he beat my ass again. And I figured, you know, there's this whole area over here that I haven't explored. Why not go over there? And that was where Mr. Rykard himself was living. I got so lost trying to find him. I remember passing by that ladder so many times, not knowing where to go. Once I found it, I felt so stupid. But how was I supposed to see that? They might as well have put camouflage on the bitch. You could not see that against that rock wall. But that's besides the point. When I got to the ladder, I kept going. I found Falling Star Beast. I ran past Falling Star Beast, and I made it to Volcano Manor. Now, you would think after they already hid the ladder, that would be enough for them. It was not. They put a hidden wall in there. I got lost again. I picked up the item without triggering the wall, so I had no idea where to go. I just started hitting walls because I thought it might be a hidden one from my past experience, and I guess it was. The path to Rykard was pretty cancer, but I made my way through. I found Godskin Noble. I killed Godskin Noble. Hopefully I don't see him again, right? And then I got to Rykard. But before that, fuck the stupid whip Blizzard. Fuck that guy.
What'd I do? What'd I do?
All right, now to Rykard. This was the coolest boss I'd stumbled on yet. I thought it was so awesome seeing a massive snake in the middle of this arena, slumbering, like waiting for you to wake him up. With my past Souls experience, I recognized what was going on when I picked up that spear, and I got to work. Now, this is a much better gimmick fight than Yorm. I mean, this fight actually has some difficulty, which I know is true because I struggled with him for a bit when I first fought him. But man, that second phase is so cool. The cutscene is probably my favorite in the game. It has one of my favorite lines. And when you get killed by him and he says, "No, you can't lie." That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I've been practicing because once he said that line for the first time, I said it every single day since. I love that line. But that's besides the point. When you go back to his arena and see his body regenerating, that's super cool. And it's even cooler when you know the lore, which I can't recite by heart. Hey, I forgot it. I'm not gonna lie. But once I got past this bullshit skull attack, I killed Rykard. It was time for Draconic Tree Sentinel to go down. So I went to his bitch ass, and I took it to him. And I still struggled, but I killed him. After that, I remember taking a pretty weird path to Godfrey. I couldn't replicate it if I tried, but climbing up that dragon's wing was super cool. And when I got to Goldfree, I was pretty disappointed. I mean, I didn't struggle with the fight all that much. Bah! Bang! My God. And he was the art book cover guy. Man, I was so disappointed that I didn't get to fight the actual guy on the art book, just some gold spectral version of him. But I'd get my wish eventually. There were still some things I had to do before that, including fight Morgott. Now, as someone who struggled a lot with Margit, you can imagine my reaction to seeing that motherfucker walk down the stairs.
Graceless, tarnished. What is thy business with these throws?
I'm gonna say 1 to 2 hours. I think it took about 1 to 2 hours. I remember I had to go do something, but I could not leave my seat until I killed him, and that I did. Yes! Yes! Bang! Bang! Are you joking? Come on, bro! The boss fights in this game are FromSoft's best. I could see an argument for Sekiro, maybe Dark Souls 3 with the DLC, but now that Elden Ring's DLC is out, I think it's pretty clear. On my first playthrough, out of all Remembrance bosses, there wasn't one I didn't like, even Fire Giant. Elden Ring is the only game out of FromSoft's catalog I can say that about. I'm not saying the bosses are perfect. Even I have grown to dislike certain bosses. Looking at you, Fire Giant. But as a whole, I'm more than happy. The fights themselves had an extra layer added to them with the jump button, which after 4 games of only pressing B, it was nice to have to press A every once in a while. The bosses are also way more aggressive, and they have way longer combos, which I can rage about every once in a while, but it's only during the fight. After the fight, I'm always glad because it makes learning the bosses and beating them way more rewarding. Now, after my wife came to visit me, she gave me that medallion and I made my way towards the elevator, or the lift, grand lift, whatever the hell you want to call it. Again, I could not believe how much more there was. At this point, the map hadn't opened up there, so I really thought this was like the last area. It was not, and I was very happy about that. Now, this was where I had my first interaction with both Godskins being in the same fight. I went into that cave next to Borealis. You know, I was just exploring, and I stumbled into a fight with Godskin Apostle. Now, I already fought him in the village. It's whatever, I'll just kill him again. But then when I killed him, Godskin Noble came up. I'm like, what's going on? So I struggled with this fight for a bit, but eventually I killed both of them. You know, I'm happy. It's over. Tell me why a 3rd health bar pops up. I was tweaking at this point. I did the slow turnaround like he's right behind me, isn't he? He was, and he was a little snail I killed in a few hits. Thank God that's over. I mean, the only thing worse than that would be both Godskins in the same fight at the same time. Who would do that? After that, I'm like, you know what? My confidence is up right now. Let me go take on Borealis. I died and ran. I'm not doing that right now. The frostbite was something else. I had to go. Now, I ran in the direction of Fire Giant. So it wasn't too long until I reached him, and I remembered him from the trailer. I was pretty excited to fight him. Once that fight started, I was not excited. I got my ass beat again. I mean, this was a pretty hard game for me. Even with how much I explored, I still was underleveled for almost every boss, so no fight really came easy to me. But as you know, I don't leave until I win, and so I won. Oh my God. Oh my God, I did it. That was horrible. I can't tell y'all how bad that was, man. Now that I went through that torture, I could proceed to my favorite area in the game, Crumbling Farm Azula. Favorite looking, at least. The grays mixed with the red lightning and the tornadoes in the distance. That's just so cool to me. I was a tornado geek as a kid. I used to watch tornado videos for fun. That was my hobby. Don't call me a loser. And what do you know? It also has my favorite boss in the game. And I'm not talking about Godskin Duo. In fact, why don't we just fast forward to that right now? This was the first time the game actually made me mad. When I ran into these pussies, I was like, oh, are they gonna change it up so it's more like Ornstein and Smo? You know, a more balanced duo fight? No, they're just gonna throw both of them in at the same time and have them lob fireballs at you. Fuck that fight. It's a lazy bitch ass fight, but it ain't bad enough to taint the game for me. In fact, I like it now because I take pleasure in killing those pussies every time I kill them. Oh my God! Yes! I don't fucking stop, boy! I don't stop! Do you know how good it felt to kill them on a steering wheel? I embarrassed them. They should be ashamed of themselves. But anyways, I kept going, ran past those bitch ass birds, ran past the cool ass dragon. A lot of swear words coming out of your mouth, buddy. Clean it up. I missed Placidusax as most people did. I mean, I didn't see the platforms going down, whatever. But I made it to the bridge, and I saw a familiar face. I ran past that familiar face, and I made it to Malekith. Now, I didn't know who Beast Clergyman was. I mean, I saw him in Caelid. I didn't know it was the same guy, but you could tell there was gonna be a second phase with this one. And once that cutscene hit, I knew exactly who this was.
Oh, death. Become my blade once more.
Oh, death, become my blade once more. That's my favorite line, by the way. When I watched that gameplay trailer, the gameplay reveal trailer, and they showed this guy, he was the boss who popped in my mind every time I thought about Elden Ring. Every time I thought about how excited for Elden Ring I was, it was, I can't wait to fight that guy. And when I eventually did get to fight him, he did not disappoint. I remember specifically fighting this boss with a smile on my face the entire time. No matter how many times I died, every single time, every single second of that fight, I was smiling. If you can have me smiling while dying, that's a good boss. And although I think they could have made him a little bit harder, maybe a bit more health, when I killed him, I knew he was my favorite boss in the game. Dang gummit, you're dead, brother. I don't know why I said dang gummit. It's just the first thing that came to my mind. I wasn't gonna scream because I kind of knew it was coming a little bit. I am the GOAT though. Let's go. At first glance, the combat mechanics in this game just seem like Dark Souls 3 with a jump button, but that doesn't even come close to doing the improvements they made justice. The jump makes you feel so much more mobile. I didn't even notice that until I went back to the old games and I was clicking A, begging for it to jump. You can guess what happened. It didn't. It didn't jump. The build variety in this game is crazy. Throughout my first playthrough, I found so many weapons I wanted to use, so many Ashes of War, spells. I wanted to do a lot more runs after my first one, and trust me, I did. There were a lot of weapons in Dark Souls 3 I thought were really cool and I wanted to do another run with. But I like doing new runs, not New Game Plus, and it was not easy to do it in Dark Souls 3 because a lot of the weapons I wanted to use were from boss souls or something of the sorts, and you obviously have to get pretty far to use those. And even if you drop them to yourself, you still have to level to meet the requirements of the weapon, which can take a little bit. With Elden Ring, you can get so many weapons without even fighting the first boss, and they have the stat boosting tiers, plus talismans you can get that make it so much easier to get to the stat requirement early. That made it so much easier for me to just hop back in and do a build I've been wanting to do for a while and just run through the whole game. Also, this is the first game I actually cared about status effects in. I used the Uchigatana at first, so bleed, super overpowered. It was useless in the old games. Frostbite I never used in the old games, but in this game, pairing it with some fire spell to reset it is super fun. And there's poison and other stuff too. Also, Ashes of War add so much variety. I mean, you could use two katanas, but maybe one's the Uchigatana and the other one's Moonveil. Two completely different playstyles, at least when I play them. This is also the first game I've used magic in since Demon Souls. I used Soul Arrow back then as just some secondary attack, but in this game it feels like a fully fleshed out playstyle, whereas in the other games I personally wouldn't say it was fully fleshed out, or at least not very user friendly. Also, the staggering in this game made me play way more aggressive. I wasn't just hiding behind a shield, I was trying to get that bar up. A more hyper aggressive playstyle is much more fun to me, so I'm glad they encouraged it in this game. Last thing I'll touch on is the summons, which I didn't use until the final boss, and I ended up regretting it. I'm glad they were added. It makes it way more approachable for newcomers, and the more people who play these games, the better. And maybe they'll beat it with summons and say, you know, I want to beat it without summons, so they'll go for another run. I just think it's good to bring people in, so I'm glad they were added. I personally wish they weren't an option for me because I ended up using it in that first run before I realized how overpowered they were, but I've well made up for it since then, and I wouldn't want to take summons away from everyone else. Once I got to the Ashen Capital, I was riding on a high. I mean, Malekith wasn't even the final boss, and he was that cool. I could only imagine what was coming up next. Now, I know people make fun of Gideon for being easy, but if anything's gonna make him hard, it'd be fighting him on a steering wheel. Can I call you Giddy? Can I call you Giddy? Because I'm a little giddy that I got that first try. So, as with most people, I made easy work of Gideon, and I moved on to Godfrey. Now, this was exciting. The art book cover man was back, and he was real this time. But it seems like he has some of the same moves. He's not too hard. I might beat him in a few tries. Yeah. As you know, Godfrey's only the first part. Hoarah is the second part, and Hoarah brutalized me. This was one of the hardest bosses in the game for me, but I was almost there. He only had a couple hits left on his health bar. I'm about to do it. I'm about to win. No, I'm not. Why do Elden Ring servers go offline? You kicked me off when I was about to kill him. I have the messages from when I told my friend about what happened. I was fuming. But considering I got him that close, you know, it was obvious that I could kill him. I just had to keep going. So I did. I kept going. And I eventually killed Hoarah. Yes, sir! Might as well jump, brother! I was finally here. This was it. The final boss of Elden Ring. After my first try, I thought, you know, this probably won't be too bad. Radagon isn't too hard. He's cool, but he's not that hard, boss. So I kept going, and I killed Radagon. And I thought, wow, that was it? There must be something else. Yes, there was. Elden Beast killed me for hours on end. This was the longest any boss took me in this game. He took me into the early AMs, and he became the first boss I didn't kill in the same session. In fact, I took the whole next day off. That was the first day I took off since Elden Ring released. As I said, I was underleveled for the whole game. That's a fault of mine, I know, but it made me struggle even more. But I refused to take that hit to my pride and go level up. No, I'm killing him now. So after hours of struggle, I got a phone call. It's from my boy. I'm like, yo, did you beat Elden Ring? He's like, yeah, I used this thing called Mimic Tier. I'm like, what's Mimic Tier? I look at my inventory, I find him. Oh, he's there. He's unupgraded. I didn't know you could upgrade summons. I'm like, oh, I haven't used these summon things. Let me go ahead and try it. It was still hard considering he was unupgraded, but eventually I did it. I beat Elden Ring. Yes! 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 Was it worth it? Probably not. My God! Yes! Yes! Man, fuck! I almost gave up, bro. I almost, last night when I saw that footage getting all blurry, I almost said, man, I can't. Why keep going? Well, now I can say I beat Elden Ring on a wheel. Women line up! I'm only picking one, Kim Tae-won. Kim Tae-won. Hey, women line up, though. Still line up, boost my ego, come on. Y'all care, right? Y'all care, right? I'm gonna use this time to touch on some little things that I want to say about Elden Ring. The soundtrack, which is very important to me, delivers. The multiplayer still needs an overhaul, but with the seamless co-op mod, I got a lot of hours out of it. The lore in this game had me more interested than any of their other games yet. I felt a sense of wonder throughout the whole game. To me personally, it felt like there was more of a story to find than in Dark Souls, even knowing that there is a lot of lore to find in Dark Souls. It felt like you were a much more important character here, even though I know you're super important in Dark Souls. I'm just saying how it felt to me. In terms of the amount of content, I have about 343 hours in this game. That's 3.5 times the hours I have in my second most played single player game, Cyberpunk. Whenever I would see that amount of hours played in a single player game on someone's profile, I would just wonder how. I understand now. Just to quickly touch on the rest of my first playthrough, I decided to start searching things up because I didn't know where to go to fight the rest of the bosses and get all the legendary armaments, whatever. I think that's fine. I tried to do a fully blind playthrough for my first playthrough, but once I'm in the end game and I'm looking for things, I'm not gonna find those things on my own, especially in a FromSoft game. So I cleaned up, I got all the achievements, got the 3 endings. It was a blast. I love when games have good achievements, fun achievements. I think they could have had harder achievements in this game, but I'd much rather this than the tedious achievements in the other Dark Souls games. So by them having good achievements, it just enhanced my experience even more. And the only thing after that is the DLC, which I don't want to touch on in this video. I wanted this video to reflect on my connection and memories of the main game, not the DLC, because it just came out. Obviously, it's amazing and it just solidifies its spot in the Hall of Fame, my Hall of Fame, and it solidifies it as one of the greatest games of all time, or the greatest, you know, depending on who you ask. But yeah, I wanted this to focus on the main game. Elden Ring is the game of a lifetime. It's always been hard for me to put certain thoughts into words, like why I love a game. I hope I did a good enough job with this, but if I'm being honest, it's pretty indescribable. The launch experience of this game cannot be replicated. It's one of those you had to be there moments. Going in knowing little to nothing, not being able to search things up, discovering it all for yourself, it's something I've never experienced in a game of this scale before, and it's completely changed how I play games. I go into almost all of my most anticipated games with as little information as possible, in search of that feeling I got with Elden Ring on release. But if I'm being honest, I don't think I'll feel that again until FromSoft's next main game. I can only imagine what they'll do next, because to me, they've already created a masterpiece in Elden Ring. Well, that's the video. I know I haven't uploaded in a long time. That's because of this video. I recorded it 4 times before the recording I used. I edited it and I just didn't like it and I kept scrapping the video. This has taken up so much of my time in the past couple weeks. I really wanted to do good. I really wanted to get it right and didn't want to let the people that believed in me down, but I did my best. I'm not really that happy with what came out. I feel like I'm just retreading old ground, but hopefully you still got some enjoyment from it. I think I'm just trying to make like some perfect video, which is pretty hard to do when you're just starting out. I don't have the skills for that yet, but I'm working on it, and I think it's just something that'll come with time. But even still, my perfectionism takes over, and it's hard for me to just put the video out, but I finished it. Fifth try's the charm, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, I'm just rambling. I hope you can at least see that I'm trying. Anyways, I'm going to put a couple video ideas up on screen. If you want to read them and tell me what you think about them, that would help. And as a small gesture to the people that supported me in my first couple videos, I'd like to immortalize you in this one. So, thank you for your support.